Welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here in the center of Europe. I hope everybody is having a good week so far, staying healthy, optimistic and strong. Hi Boomy, hi Rashika, hi Jainil. Good to see our members in this class on time. Hi Lydia, hi Real Diamond. Nice to see some of our regular students here as well, and welcome everyone. Today's class, IELTS speaking part 1, practice and strategy. Please make sure to speak so that you are practicing speaking. So don't just type and don't just watch, but actually try to and do repeat what you hear and what you see me read on the board as well. All right, students, this lesson is brought to you by AE.com for IELTS as well as master's PhD applications. Please visit us at aehelp.com. For general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we have loads and loads of help available for you, including help for, of course, speaking and writing. We even have a free speaking practice for students with other students. I'll show you that real quick. Okay. Shirojidin says that there's a bit of a problem with the sound. If anybody else feels that as well, let me know so I can adjust for it. Otherwise, Shirojin, it might be on your end only. Students, this is what the general IELTS website looks like here with the green background. You can click this big red button to join. Let me just check here with my audio. Let me play with the wire a little bit. If others are also having that problem, it could be with the audio set up on my end. Is anybody else having? Yeah, Sammy says a little bit. Let me just check. See if I can fix that a bit. Okay. See some Wi-Fi interference there. Let me see. How is that? Looks like I just fixed it. Is that better now? Yeah? Yeah, I was just playing with it a little bit. Is the sound better now? I think I've figured out what might be causing that issue. Yeah, Samuel says it's good. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, happy to hear it. Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. There's a little bit of Wi-Fi interference. I can see the blinking on that. All right. Okay, cool. So the academic website, students, it looks like this with the blue background. For this blue background, again, you can click that big red button to join the premium package. When you do, I just want to show you this one feature because this is a speaking class. So I want you to practice your speaking because the first and most important step for great speaking is to practice. And you can create a free account. You don't have to pay for the premium package. You can create a free demo account, and then you can use this student partner speaking in the website. And in the student partner speaking, when you click on that, you'll find other students who are always waiting and looking for someone to partner up and practice some IELTS questions. Right now, you can see that Syed, Zahab, Mia, and Sammy are all in here, and they're looking and waiting for other students to join in. Okay? So make sure to use this function, and there's also questions here as well. Okay? If you're still having problems with the sound, let me know, because I'll try to adjust again. Okay. Fortunately, I think. Let me just double check here. Should be good. Okay, I'll brighten up our lives meanwhile. Alek, make sure to text them. Make sure they're not in a chat with somebody else. Okay. All right. Okay. So, today is speaking, so we're going to do lots and lots of speaking, and we'll get warmed up as well. Tomorrow, we'll have some reading for members. Yeah, it's not a problem with the mic, unfortunately. I wish it were that simple. It's a problem with... So let me just try to... All right. So tomorrow we'll have reading, and then we'll start a task 2 question with everyone. And then we'll have more writing and more speaking later on in the week as well. So that's going to be the focus of it for this week, okay? All right. So let's get into this. Let me warm you up with some speaking questions. Make sure to speak and repeat. And students, of course, please use English in the chat, okay? So otherwise, some of our moderators might put you on a timeout, okay? All right, so here we go, everyone. Let's get into this. So you get into your speaking interview. Now, your examiner will say, welcome to the speaking part of the IELTS exam. My name is Adrian. I will be your examiner. The test has 3 parts. I'll give you instructions for each. First of all, what is your full name? Okay, again, always practice this question, no matter how repetitive or boring that may seem. Jainil says, my given name is Jainil and my surname is Gabani. Please call me by my first name, Jainil. That's good, Jainil. Yeah, and practice different ways of expressing yourself. Shaikh Fazil says, my name is Shaikh Fazil. You can call me by my first name, Shaikh. That works, Shaikh. Sure. Samuel says, my full name is Vera Samuel Sadir. Please just call me Samuel. That works as well. Sammy Rocky says, my surname is Pulivarthi and my given name is Shiva Sankar. Please just call me by my nickname, Sammy. That's very good. Abhishek, we don't say myself, Abhishek Jain, okay? Nice try, but that's not natural English, okay? We wouldn't use that. We would say I'm Abhishek Jain. Please call me by my given name, which is Abhishek. That works. Nice use of the adjective clause. Lydia says, my name is Lydia Gerges. You can call me by my first name, which is Lydia, if you don't mind. Nice way to finish it, Lydia. I like the conditional, if you don't mind. Please call me by my first name is another way to say it. So if you don't mind, please just call me by my first name, Lydia. Okay? Yeah, you might see something like that. So it's a natural expression, Lydia. Absolutely. I'll use that for today's example. So see, there's so many different ways to state your name and practice lots of different ways. Okay? So my name is Patrick Watson. Please just call me by my nickname, Patty, if you don't mind. Sure, it's okay to say that. All right, so repeat after me. What is your full name? My full name is Patrick Watson. Please just call me by my nickname, Patty, if you don't mind. All right, Patty. May I see your identification? So the next question is always, may I see your identification, because the examiner will match you up with your identification. So you need the passport or your national ID that you use to register for the exam. It's a picture ID. You need to give it to them. They will look at it, and then they will match that up with you to make sure that you're not a doppelganger who is cheating and sitting in on the exam instead of the real person. That's actually the reason why they do it. Sammy says, yes, of course. Let me take out my passport from my pocket, which I used to register for this exam. Ah, yes, here it is. please have a look. Very nice and natural. Sammy, that could very well be the realistic situation where you have to dig it out of your pocket. Ravinder Singh says, yes, sure, this is my passport. That you will see as my identification. Please have a look. Ravinder, be careful. There's a little bit of awkwardness in what you're saying there. It doesn't quite sound natural, so careful. Okay. Nandini Garg says, yes, sure, here's my passport for my identification. Nandini, that works. For my identification is nice, natural English. It's original. Good. Okay. All right. Amanjot says, yes, sure, here's my passport that I used to register for the exam. Please have a look. Nice. And stay polite, students. So definitely use the word please in this context if you can. Being polite will set the tone. It will also make the examiner realize that you have good command of the tone of English. Okay? All right. Janil says, yes, of course, please have a look at my identity card. Yeah, make sure it's an identity card and not your passport in that case, right? Okay, good. So, of course, this is one of those places where you can use an adjective clause, okay? So showing grammar range right away is very important. So here we go. May I see your identification? Yes, certainly. Here is my passport that I used to register for this exam. Please take a look. And of course, while you're handing it to the examiner. So repeat after me. May I see your identification? Yes, certainly. Here's my passport that I used to register for this exam. Please take a look, or please have a look. Both of those work great. Now, the examiner will follow up with some more questions. So the examiner will say, okay, now I will ask you a couple more questions on a general topic and some questions to get to know you better. Where do you live? That's a very common question to make everybody feel comfortable. So where do you live? Okay. Now, for this question, you should think about the location of where you come from, so the city, country, district, maybe even. And you should also think about your residence, so your apartment, your house, your bachelor pad, whatever it may be, okay, your bungalow, wherever you live. So you should mention those two very clearly, okay? That's the best way and the most complete way to answer this question. Okay. All right. So Shirojidin says, I live in a 3-bedroom home with my parents on the 3rd floor in Termez City, which is located in the southern part of Uzbekistan. Very good, Shirojidin. So your place, who you're there with, and specific geographic location. That's really good. Okay. Samuel says, I live in a 3-bedroom house on the top floor of a 3-story house in the famous hillside locality of Sedara. Yeah. Hillside locality is okay. Yeah, that's good English. Absolutely. We use the word locality. It's a nice piece of vocabulary. Mr. Uni with his glass says, well, I have been living in Tashkent, which is the capital of Uzbekistan, for 5 years. And Tashkent is one of the most popular places in Uzbekistan, as capital cities usually are, Mr. Uni. You don't need to say that. It's a little bit strange to say the capital city is one of the most popular places. That's generally the case. Instead of that, mention maybe where you're actually living. So you're living in the 3rd district in downtown on the 5th floor of a 2-bedroom apartment with a nice living room and a nice view of some office buildings. Something like that, okay? Show your fluency, all right? Erkin Salyev says, I live in a 3-bedroom apartment in Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan, near a bus stop. Nice, so I can imagine there's trees or apartment building, and there's some greenery. Fantastic. All right, very good. Ashraf, nice to see more members jumping in on the class. Ashraf says, I live in a 3-bedroom apartment on the 12th floor of a high-rise building, slap bang in the center of the city. Okay, you're missing a word there, Ashraf, in that expression. It's slap bang in the city center. Yeah, that's good. Slap bang in the city center. Thanks for putting a smile on my face. Ashraf says, I live slap bang in the city center on the 12th floor of a high-rise building in a 3-bedroom apartment. Okay. So the expression here, 12. Why can't I spell 12? Okay, let's cheat. 12th high-rise building. The expression here is slap bang. That's making me lose focus here. Slap bang is good. So that expression, it's natural slang. It's okay to use that in the speaking section. Slap bang means right in the dead center. That would be another way to express that as well. So I live in the dead center. I know that might sound weird, but it's actually normal, natural English. So I live in the dead center of the city, or I live slap bang in the city center. Okay, that means right in the center of the city. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Okay, Mustafa says, I've been living in Russia in the city of Gomel since 2016. I rent a 1-bedroom cozy apartment in the heart of the city by myself. Okay, very good. So you're a bachelor, Mustafa. Yeah, in the city of Gomel. You're missing an of there. Otherwise, Mustafa, really nice use of the present perfect progressive. Your examiner definitely catches that kind of grammar use, okay? I have been living in Russia. I've been living in Russia since 2016. And since a year is a good way to use the present perfect progressive for sure. All right, let's jump to the next question, and then I'll talk a little bit of strategy for the speaking section. So next question the examiner might ask, again, it's a very common question, is what helps you to relax? Okay, what helps you to relax? Try to give me a nice full sentence answer for that one. What helps you to relax? All right. So Mohammed Azat says, the best way for me to relax in my free time is sit in my garden with some nice flowers and enjoy the song of some beautiful birds. Yeah, sure. Enjoy the chirping of some beautiful birds, or this bird songs. Okay. All right. Samuel says, I enjoy watching English sitcoms like Friends and 2.5 Men, as they not only allow me to decompress, but also help me to improve my English as well. In fact, I was watching the 2nd season of Friends yesterday to prepare for this exam. Very nice, Samuel. Good way to connect. Good way to bring it into real time. Nice answer, explanation, and example. That's really good. Okay. Ulas says, generally, I surf on the internet and check my social media accounts. These provide me an outlet to relax. Also watching some movies on Netflix that help me to feel happy. Yeah, and then Ulas, give me an example. So don't jump around with too many ideas. Instead, focus on one maybe 2 ideas, and give more details. Maybe give an example as well. Okay. All right. Adiana Amru says, lately I've been binge watching some comedy themes on Netflix, some series, or else I just clean my whole room while putting on some music. It helps me clear my mind and relax. Adiana, very nice. Yeah, you're like me. I actually like to listen to music and clean as well to unwind and relax. Some people find that stressful. Others, like myself and you, find that quite relaxing. I get quite tense when there's a lot of uncleanliness around me, when there's a lot of garbage and a messy room. Okay, Ravinder Singh says, well, it depends on my mood, but usually I relax by listening to Punjabi music. I often listen to live songs by my favorite singer, Jassar, but sometimes even my brother plays badminton with me. Sure. Okay, very good. So what helps you to relax? Well, if I'm full of energy and feeling tense, then going to the gym and letting off some steam while lifting weights and listening to music helps me to calm down. However, if I'm exhausted after a long day, I like to put on Netflix and watch some slapstick comedy. Just yesterday, I watched a really funny Adam Sandler film. All right. So here's my answer. Repeat after me. So what helps you to relax? Well, if I'm full of energy and feeling tense, then going to the gym and letting off some steam while lifting weights and listening to music helps me to calm down. However, if I'm exhausted after a long day, I like to put on Netflix and watch some slapstick comedy. Just yesterday, I watched a really funny Adam Sandler film. So this is your high band score because it's got a lot of fluency, a lot of natural language. It's got some idiomatic language as well, letting off some steam. Okay. And it gives a clear answer, explanation, and example. Okay, that's what you want to do for those high band scores. So before we go on to the coming questions here, let's talk about the news. Usually here, the examiner will introduce the remainder of part 1, the general topic. They'll say, let's talk about the news. I want to talk a little bit of strategy. Does everybody know what a band 9 is? So what is a band 9 in the IELTS speaking? What does that mean? Okay, a lot of people, I think, have a little bit of confusion of what band 9 means. Anybody know what band 9 actually means according to the IELTS marking criteria? So what is it classed as? I'll give you a hint of what I mean. So the way that IELTS says this is band 6 is what's called a fluent speaker. Okay, band 7 is what's called a good speaker or good user, they say. Band 8 is what's called a very good user of English. And a band 9 is what's called, so Shiojidin says not perfect, but an expert user of the English language. Yeah, it's an expert user of the English language. Okay, so what are the marking criteria? There's basically 4 marking criteria, so 4 marking categories. Does anybody know what they are? So anybody know what they're looking for when they're marking you? And they have a very clear marking system. It's called a marking rubric. Okay. So Lydia says speaking fluency, repetition. Okay. Coherence and cohesion. Okay. So one that they're looking for is coherence and fluency. Okay, so that's one of the criteria. The grammar, what they do with that is they call it grammatical range and accuracy. Okay, that's another one. And then a third one, and you can find this marking rubric. So if you Google this online, okay, you can find it. It's not a secret. They won't tell you exactly how much you lose for what, because that takes a lot of training, but they'll give you this information, okay? So you can Google IELTS speaking marking sheet, and you'll find this, okay, in much more detail. But I want to explain this a little bit to you right now so you get an idea of what's going on and how it's connected, okay? Another one is Lexical Resource, that's right. Okay. And the other one is pronunciation, okay? All right, now, students kind of have this false belief that all of these are equal. So they think that this is 25% and this is 25%, okay, and this is 25% and 25%. It's not true, okay? That's not how it works, all right? I think that's where there's a lot of misconception. The other mistake that I think some students make is they think that these are exclusive, so you can separately mark each of these, but that's not true either. These are all connected, okay? The most important that you want to focus on first is coherence and fluency, okay? If you're not coherent and you're not fluent, then grammatical range, lexical resource, and pronunciation doesn't matter, all right? You can use all kinds of fancy words. You can use all kinds of grammar, and you can have clear pronunciation. But if you're not making sense, okay, if you're not answering the question, which obviously often means that you're not speaking fluently either, then you can't get a very good score. So you really have to focus on coherency and fluency first of all, okay? So what I recommend anybody who's sitting the IELTS to do is first of all make sure that you can speak fluently and coherently with the existing grammar, vocabulary that you have, okay? Don't get fancy. So it's kind of this advice that you've probably heard in stories where they say, you know, don't try to fly before you can run, or don't try to run before you can walk, okay? So make sure that you can use your existing vocabulary and grammar fluently and coherently before you incorporate further vocabulary and grammar. Okay. The reason I say that is oftentimes I actually hear students using words and grammar that they're not quite confident using, but they use it anyway because they think it's going to help their score. And it actually makes them less fluent and less coherent. And you'll get a worse score for that than if you use simple English coherently and fluently. Okay? All right, does that make sense? That's quite an important piece of advice. So it's better to use simple English coherently and fluently than use complicated grammar and words incoherently and in an awkward, non-fluent way. Okay, I've seen and heard students do that, and I'm always surprised. I'm kind of like, yeah, you're using a lot of fancy words, but I can't make out what you're saying. So I can only give you like a band 5, because if you go and say that to an English speaker, they'll kind of scratch their head like, what are you doing? Okay, so you have to be really careful with that. So focus on mastering this, okay? So walk before you run, run before you fly, okay? Now, all of these are connected, and a lot of students, another quick note, so I'm not going to spend all day on this right now, but another quick note is students put a lot of emphasis on pronunciation. So students think that pronunciation is really important. It's actually not, okay? So this is the least important factor for a good grade or band score on the speaking. If you have it's called a thick accent, but the examiner can understand the words and you have good coherence and fluency, you can still get a great band score, like band 8. Okay? So many times on YouTube, I see students commenting this and even saying like, wow, this person has a really thick accent. There's no way they can get a band 8. It's not true, okay? There are so many different accents of English in the world. Sometimes people say, oh, the accent in India. And of course, people in India know this, that there's a lot of different English accents in India. There's a couple stereotypical accents of English in India, but if you actually talk to people in India from different regions, you will discover that there are many different accents of English among the people of India. And same thing with Slavic nations, same thing with European, Latin-based languages, French, Spanish. So thick accents don't really matter much as long as people can generally understand you, okay? If your pronunciation changes the meaning of the word, or if people are going, what are you talking about? Then yeah, sure, of course, because then your coherence will be affected negatively. But that's very rare. Okay, that's very rare. All right, so don't stress about pronunciation too much. That will just come naturally. Pay attention to it, focus on it, work on it, try to sound as clear as possible, but don't think that that's going to be the deal breaker. Okay, yeah, I'm sure that people in India, I can see a couple of people are saying, yeah, you hear a lot of different accents in India with English. Of course, we're talking about 1 billion people on a huge piece of land, with a lot of different mother tongues as well. Okay, all right. Lexical resource, yes, it's important. You should always work on vocabulary. Okay, so lexical resource, you should always try to paraphrase. So it does matter. So choosing the right words is important. Okay. But you do not need to use fancy idioms. Okay. Make sure to learn phrasal verbs and basic synonyms for common words. Okay, so that's what's important. Now also for grammatical range and accuracy, yeah, they're looking at how many different types of grammar are you using in your answers. So can you use present perfect, past perfect, continuous form, passive voice, conditionals, different kinds of adjective clauses. So they're looking for that, but they're also looking on how accurately you can use it. So the examiner is looking for both variety, therefore reflect the grammar of questions. Okay, that's very important. If the question is present perfect, use present perfect. And they are looking for accuracy. So that means that if you're using lots of present perfect and lots of other grammar, but you're not using it accurately, you're not getting points. In fact, you're losing points. Okay. Ashraf is asking, can we use normal words much? Yeah, absolutely. You can use a lot of normal words. And Ashraf, I recommend using common words if that helps you to be more accurate and more fluent. Okay. All right. So one last kind of tip here that I want to show you how to think about this information. Okay. So remember that, again, the examiner is very, very clearly looking at these criteria. These are connected: coherence, fluency, grammatical range, accuracy, lexical resource, and pronunciation. Okay? Again, fluency and coherence are the most important. Another way to think about this, students, is your band score. Okay, is basically made up in the following way. All right, so you can think about it like a Venn diagram. Some of you who study math, you might be familiar with this. Okay, so coherent, natural, okay, and complex. All right. So your band score comes from these three spheres of your language. So how natural are you? This means how close is it to a native speaker? Okay, now it could be native British, native American, native Australian. It doesn't matter. Sometimes students are like, well, is it British? Is it American? It doesn't matter. British people are mostly familiar with American English. Americans are familiar with British English and Australian and so on and so forth, especially the examiners. So is it the kind of language that a native speaker would use, would understand? Okay. Coherent, is it clear? Do you accurately answer questions with detail? Okay, so the coherent part is really important. It means, are you accurately answering the question with detail without going off topic? Okay, all right. And then complex, that's where it's your grammar and vocabulary. Okay, now why is this a Venn diagram with your band score kind of in the middle of all of these? Well, because if you have coherent language, you're likely using lots of vocabulary with good grammar, and of course you're sounding natural. The only way to sound natural is if you're coherent and you're using some complex language, just like a native speaker. So that's the other way to think about it. So if you think about these three elements to make up your band score, and you think about this in combination with these four marking criteria: coherence and fluency, grammatical range and accuracy, lexical resource, and pronunciation, then it makes a lot of sense. Is that clear? Help everybody understand a little bit better of what the examiners are looking for? So when you're practicing, you want these to be balanced. Okay? You want your fluency, your coherence, your lexical resource, your grammar. You want all of that to be as much balanced as possible. Okay? All right? Okay, so let's keep going here, students. Let's dig in. Let's talk about the news. Okay, I can see that some of you are like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, My voice is crackling again. If it's hopefully, there's Wi-Fi interference. Unfortunately, I can't stop that. So, yeah. All right. Okay. Let's do this. So hang in there for a little bit more. So let's talk about the news. How often do you read the news? How often do you read the news? All right. Give me some nice full sentence answers for this one. Lucas says, basically, I read the news every morning so that I know what's going on in the world around me, especially the news I might relate to. I consider it especially indispensable these days to be up to date on the COVID-19 situation. Yeah, Lucas, I made a few adjustments there just to make it a little bit more natural. You can catch that at 40 minutes and 20 seconds when you review this video, okay? All right, Real Diamond says, well, I used to read magazines daily, especially in the evening, just before I went to bed, because I'm interested in the info about celebrities. So every day I got info about them through social media. Yeah, so gossip news, Real Diamond. Irene Domingo says, most of the time I read the news every day in the newspaper called Straits Times, a popular magazine in Singapore where I can read all about worldwide sports, jobs, and about education. Very nice, Irene. Okay. Pea says, I read news every day, in fact, 3 to 4 times each day to be exact. News keeps me up to date for what's happening, not only in my country, but also globally or worldwide. Okay, Pam? Very nice. Nice answers. Good range of vocabulary. I hope everybody is not just listening to me, but also speaking and repeating. Turk Berry says, I have my email address subscribed to a couple of OPF News websites. So whenever there's a notification, I'm reading most of the article. It's usually 4 to 5 times a day. Very nice, Turk. So you subscribe to some news feeds. Great. Okay, so I frequently find myself reading the news. I would say about 3 to 4 times a day. I have the BBC app on my phone, which sends me notifications constantly, especially these days with the pandemic. I'm making sure to stay up to date with not only the local news, but also with what's happening worldwide. All right. So there's my answer. Repeat after me. Let's talk about the news. How often do you read the news? I frequently find myself reading the news, I would say about 3 to 4 times a day. I have the BBC app on my phone, which sends me notifications constantly, especially these days with the pandemic. I'm making sure to stay up to date with not only the local news, but also with what's happening worldwide. All right. Doing good. Next question. So we're rolling along. We're focusing on those different elements that we just discussed about coherence, grammatical range, lexical resource, pronunciation. So focusing on all of those. Where do you get the latest news from? Why? Okay, where do you get the latest news from? Brackets. Why? Try to give me a nice answer for that one. Anastasia says, I prefer not to watch the news on TV, but read it daily on global websites, so it helps me to know what is going on in the world, and also I practice my English this way. Very nice, Anastasia. Okay, Mohammed Shabzevarian says, well, actually, I sometimes read the news when there's a big change in the world. Especially if it has an impact on my life. As I just mentioned, the COVID-19 would be a good example of this. Mohammed, a little bit more fluency, tie it in with current events. Okay. All right. Kyber says, well, most of the time I get the latest news from social networking apps like Facebook, Twitter, since they are reported and shared so quickly. All right, very good, Kyber. Raj says, Raj Kumar, I have the BBC and CNN app installed on my phone and it updates me on a regular basis. I like this method because it's quick and current and reliable as well. Okay. All right, nice. OP Dan says, well, sometimes I watch the news on YouTube. For example, the channel Konstantin Semin. Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but sure. Mustafa says, I get my recent news from BBC app and other social media pages on Facebook, which I'm subscribed to just to check my home country news and how the political situation is developing. Okay, good. So some good answers there. Well, as I had just explained, I get my news through the BBC app as I find it quick and reliable. In addition, I also get my news through various feeds on Facebook and Twitter, which are quite objective and often difficult to find elsewhere. Just the other day, I read an article about possible drop in the American dollar due to inflation, and this is nowhere else to be found. All right, just making that up. But anyway, answer, explanation, example. That's the focus here. So where do you get the latest news from? Why? Well, as I had just explained, I get my news through the BBC app, as I find it quick and reliable. In addition, I also get my news through various feeds on Facebook and Twitter, which are quite objective and often difficult to find elsewhere. Just the other day, I read an article about a possible drop in the American dollar due to inflation, and this is nowhere else to be found. It's hush hush. Okay. What kind of news do you not like? Okay, give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. So again, working on your fluency and your coherence. Say it, don't just type it. Okay? So what kind of news do you not like? Okay. All right. Kuldeep Soni says, well, I don't like such types of news like accidents and some number of people are dead due to the pandemic and so on, because I find these really depressing and I like to stay positive. Okay, Kuldeep, finish your idea why you do not like news that reports on accidents, illness, and death. Okay. Fatime Korchi says, ominous news are one of those kinds which don't appeal to me. As this COVID crisis keeps spreading, the news keeps becoming more and more ominous, which is just sad. It's difficult to figure out what is actually happening and what people should be prepared for. Yeah, Fatime, I think you have a good start there, but be really careful with very deep philosophical answers because you can easily get yourself into trouble. Even as a native speaker, it can become very difficult to express some deep philosophical ideas. So maybe not do that on the IELTS exam, okay? Stay with just clear affirmative answers, even if it's not the complete truth, okay? Choose the simple answer. Flower Sun says, personally, I don't enjoy sports news much as I don't watch football or other kinds of sports, so they don't really have much meaning for me, and I don't understand what the people on TV are talking about. Okay, Flower Sun, that works. Fair enough, right? Not everybody is into sports. All right, Caesar says, the news that I don't like is entertainment. For me, some other people's problems in personal life that I'm not involved in just doesn't excite me. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, it's called gossip news. Okay, so, well, I'm not a big fan of gossip news. What I mean are shows and articles about the lives and problems of celebrities. Not only do I think that this is an invasion of privacy, but I also believe it is a waste of time and people should focus more on their own challenges and how to live a happy life. All right. Yeah, gossip. There we go. Without the H. Repeat after me. What kind of news do you not like? Well, I'm not a big fan of gossip news. What I mean are shows and articles about the lives and problems of celebrities. Not only do I think that this is an invasion of privacy, but I also believe it is a waste of time and people should focus more on their own challenges and how to live a happy life. That's just me. Some people love gossip news, and that's fine as well. Okay? All right. Okay, so we have a couple more questions here. When do you like to research the news? If you could change one thing about news media, what would that be and why? And have the way people followed the news changed in the last 20 years? Is this good or bad? I will leave these last 3 questions for you to practice on your own. You can do that with other students on the websites as well. Okay, tomorrow I will be back with reading and task 2 essay writing. Thank you so much, everyone, for your great participation. There were tons of fantastic answers today. And I love seeing how many of you are definitely improving your accuracy, your fluency, your lexical resource, grammatical range, and that's really nice to see. So keep going, okay? Your brains are learning machines. They are the most advanced learning machines in the known human universe. So trust in yourself, believe in yourself. You're always improving as long as you keep learning. And hopefully you will do more of that today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now, everyone. I'm Adrian, signing out from Budapest. Please check us out at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gltshelp.com for general IELTS.